I want to talk today about what it looks like to trust yourself. This is not a skill that I can sit here and say that I do every single day or in every moment. In fact, this is the act of trusting myself is something that I struggle with every single day. I especially struggle with it when it comes to when I'm in a hard place or when there's a lot of unknown or when I let my fears kind of take over. And so, one way that I have learned to break past some of those fears, it's actually helpful for me because I go back to my first ever coaching session with a life coach. And she asked me, "Do you trust yourself?" And the answer I gave her was, "I don't know." And what she asked me was this is she said, "Well, when you have to pick your kids up from school, do you always are you always there? Do you trust yourself to get there to pick them up?" And the answer was yes, of course. Whether I was working a really stressful job and I had court, I would tell the judge, as uncomfortable as it was, I have to be gone by this time. I have to pick my kids up. There was very little worry about what other people thought because this was, at the end of the day, a requirement. It was a bottom line. It didn't matter what job, what life circumstance, what appointment I had. It didn't matter what fun thing I wanted to do. I always trusted myself to be there to pick my kids up when they needed to be picked up. It didn't mean I wasn't 5 minutes late, but what it did mean is that I knew no matter what, I did what it would take to get there and get them. And she told me that that's because that's just a bottom line. That is just a vow, like an agreement that I have with myself as a mother. And what I realized is that the way that I trust myself to get my kids is the same way that I can learn to trust myself to figure things out. So when I'm in a situation when there's a lot of unknown or when there's a lot of scary, whether it's financial or relational or even just career type things going on, like the fear of the unknown can sometimes be overwhelming. But I always bring myself back to the grounding practice of, do I trust myself? And the answer is yes. I trust that if building my business doesn't work out, that I will find other ways while I work on building my business to create an income for me. I trust that at the end of the day, that no matter what happens, that I'm going to show up with pure intentions and a pure heart. I trust that I am always going to make sure that my kids are provided for with food and a home. I trust that I will never stop in order to meet those needs for my kids and for myself. I also trust that if I'm ever in a relationship that is not serving me, that I always have a way out. And that if I don't feel like I have a way out, that I will find a way to get out. I trust that I have a couple people in my life that I know that I can count on. And I know that if they can't be there for me at the end of the day, I can count on myself. And so this practice has really helped me to ground myself when the unknown comes up, when really scary situations come up, to go back and ask myself, do I trust myself? And at the end of the day, I trust myself no matter what happens to make it work, to figure it out. I know that I have the ability. I know that I have the intelligence. I know that I can find the resources. And at the end of the day, I know that I'm capable. I'm capable of growing. I'm capable of figuring it out. And so I wanted to share that with you today. It sounds easier said than done, but to really practice that, do I trust myself? What ways do I trust myself? What ways do I always show up for myself or for my kids or for others? And no questions asked. I make it work no matter what. Those are ways in which you trust yourself. If you trust yourself to get up and go to work every day, even though you don't want to, that is something you can work with. That is a very hard challenge to do, but you know at the end of the day that you will push through and you will get through that. You have been through probably some very difficult times in your life, and you can look back on those and say, in the beginning of this, I was scared, I was paralyzed by fear. I had no idea if I'd make it through, but somehow I did. And you can look back on those experiences and you can say, I can trust myself to get through this next really hard thing. Because even though I didn't have it all figured out then, somehow, some way, little by little, I pulled myself together and made it through. And so I believe that even though I can't see the light and I can't see past all the chaos, that one day I will. That one day I will be healed enough. One day I will be strong enough. One day the chaos, the storm, it will calm and it will clear. And that will be if I just take little steps every single day. If I just ground myself every single day in the fact that like I do have some control and I do have the ability and the capability to make sure that my needs are met and to make sure that I'm okay.